Today I'm going to take you through the basics that I've used for my own body and with my clients from the Monkey Body Spinal Mastery Program to become free of our back pain long term. First thing we're going to use is a strap, essentially, that we're going to hang off of a door. Because you probably don't have one of those lying around, we can also use a flat bed sheet. So this is a queen size flat bed sheet. I'll just unfold it first. I'm going to find a corner and I'm going to just tie a knot in the end of that corner, okay? So this is going to give you this knot will give you an anchor to basically hang off of over a door. And we're going to use this whole thing. We're just going to hold it like a rope and we're just going to use it like a strap to hang off of. This is what we'll use for the spiral stretch portion, where we go into opening the fronts, the backs of the hips, the backs and the fronts of the shoulders, okay? So what you're going to do is, imagining that this is a door that we would close, on the hinge side, you're just going to take this, you're going to throw it over the top of the door, and you're going to close it in the door so that you can hang off of that strap like a rope, all right? So I'm just going to put this to the side so I can use my own strap that I have set up right here. And we're going to get started on the floor. It's really essential that we begin from the floor because that's how we came into this world developmentally. The floor is the first safe space that we know after we come out of the womb. So what I want us to do is you're gonna have a space where basically your arms can be out at the side a bit, and we'll just be able to lie down. That's basically as much space as we're gonna need. So we're gonna come onto the back, and I'm gonna have you take one knee to chest, other knee to chest for an exercise I call rocking. So first, you're gonna take your right arm on the knee. Knees are about hip width apart, and head is on the floor. If you can't take the knee to allow the head to be on the floor, you can have the hands be behind the knees, and you'll notice it's probably a little easier to get that head down, okay? So either one is totally fine. We're just going to take an inhale at center here, and exhaling as the right hand pulls that knee into chest. We're going to rock a little bit over towards one another to your right side, just shy of where that elbow touches the ground, soft, wide elbows in a hoop. And we're going to inhale as that knee pushes out and we come back to center. Exhaling as your left hand pulls the knee into chest. We're going to rock over to that left side a bit. And inhaling as the knee pushes away, we right the ship back to center. Exhaling as your right arm pulls the knee in towards the chest, towards that midline, into your sternum. Inhaling as the knee pushes away. Exhaling as the left hand pulls the knee into the chest. We rock a bit to the left. And then inhaling as we come back to center. Let's do a couple more sets like that. Exhaling as we soften that right knee into chest. Inhaling as we push out to center. Exhaling as that left hand pulls in, softly rolling, soft chest, soft chin. And inhaling back to center. Then we're going to have one foot down, other foot down, one leg long, other leg long. And we're just going to feel that for a second. We're just going to feel our contact with the floor. It's really important that we have an exercise to always come back to know that we feel safe and that our back can feel soft and open and easy and supported. So this rocking exercise, you can put this into any part of any of these exercises. If something happens with your low back where you're a little unsure and you need it to feel safer and calmer, you come right back to this rocking exercise, one knee to chest, other knee to chest, and we just give that little bit of rocking. Okay, so that's always a safe pause that we can take. First major exercise we're going to get into is part of a series of things I call the mashing drills. This is where we can use the floor as our own massage therapist, chiropractor, conditioning a tool. First, we're going to do in the mashing, we're going to sort of act like it's massage. So I'm going to have you take your feet. They're going to be shoulder width apart, a little wider than shoulder width. And we're going to curl that chest down long and low, hands over the hips to unweight the head. And first we're going to roll the hoop towards one another. We're going to swing our arms to the right as we come up and over onto this bony nub of the hip. And I want you to feel that you can rock it back and forth. It's like a knuckle in the left side of your hip. You feel it's sort of a big bone that you can roll over. We take an inhale into that and exhaling as we curl the chest. Soft, but as we come back through the center, we're going to swing the hoop over to the other side. Up over to the other bony nub of the hip. It's going to be over your left hip. We just rock that back and forth just a little, kind of massaging it into the floor. You might notice that this is a little uncomfortable. Curling back to center again. We'll take that hoop and we're going to swing it over to the right again, up and over onto that bony nub of the hip. Taking a big breath into the floor and exhale as we curl that sternum, rolling back. My feet are still a little wider than shoulder width. My heart turns and my knees fall. Just massaging out that hip into the floor, nice and easy, taking a big breath into the floor. And curling through. You might notice that your back starts to crack a little bit, starts to kind of resequence. It's just a nice massage. We're getting into the floor, breathing into this. And exhale as we curl through. And we'll do one more set, up and over, as we mash it back and forth, rocking back and forth just a little over that bony nub of the hip. And we curl back to center. We'll have a little tuck of the chin as we lower the head to the floor, and then we'll have one leg long, other leg long, and we'll feel that. And just noticing your contact with the floor, your contact with your low back might be a little more than you had before, and just feeling supported by that contact with the floor. The first of the spiral stretches we'll now get into to open up the junctions of the spine. The way that I see any tension in the back is really that the spine is an entire unit. We can't do any sort of spot checking. So in order for that central axis, your axial skeleton, in order for that central axis to be honored and to allow it to have as much space for all 120 plus joints of your spine to be able to articulate, meaning to be able to move and undulate and find sort of their balanced length with one another, you need to have the junctions of the spine, the attachment sites of your limbs, basically your hips and your shoulders, need to be open in 360 degrees. In this work, what ultimately we'll be doing in that first, where we started mashing the seat, we'll eventually be rolling across the floor. And that centripetal movement, that 360 degree movement, that 360 degree theory is what I take to the opening up these hips and these shoulders. No longer using this sort of linear perspective from physical therapy of sagittal, coronal, transverse plane, front bending, side bending, and twisting, rotating on center. We combine all three of those planes in order to create these large kind of spiral staircases, or if you think of a DNA double helix, our tissue is actually much more closely related to that helical mapping, that barbershop pole, that candy cane wrapping up and down and around our spine. So for the first stretch, for the front of the hips, our hip flexor line, I call it our front body sacrum line, we're going to take our strap. So your strap is closed into the top of your door. This one's really long because I'm a little about 15 feet away from the door it's closed in, so I have a little extra length here. But we're going to take that strap and it'll be closed in that door overhead so that it's anchored. You can hang your body weight into it a little bit. You just want to give that a little test so it feels safe. And then we're going to take a knee, and you're gonna put whichever knee feels safest to be on the ground first with the other leg in front. I call this our 90-90. So a 90 degree in the front, 90 degree in the back. This is our 90-90 stretch. For the knee on the ground, you'll notice that you might feel a little uncomfortable to not have any padding, so you can absolutely take a pillow here. If you feel any pulling in this knee on the ground, in this position, if it feels like it's pulling right above the knee, it's a little too tight, you can absolutely take some hardcover books or a yoga block, and you can put the knee on top of that, and you can put a pillow on top of that block just to pad the knee so it feels comfy. All right, so I'm just going to demonstrate on my left leg. You can mirror me with your right knee on the ground, and we take that ball of foot in the back. Notice my toes are tucked under like I'm in sort of like a runner's lunge. We're just going to ground that back ball of foot, leave it right where it is, and we're going to let our heel come back. We're going to slide that knee back as far as possible to get a really nice flex of that foot, stretch of the toes, and the sole of the foot. And we'll come up to upright. In order to be squared off and straight, the anchor point of my strap, wherever you find that in the room, wherever that is on the door, you're going to notice your pubic bone, your sternum, and your nose are going to face dead on to that anchor point to know that you're in a straight line, okay? The front foot is going to come in front of your belly button. So everything is right on that midline, okay? So we have really clean straight lines on that. Now we're going to take this strap. Just think soft hoop in the arms. Hands are sort of in front of sternum, solar plexus, somewhere in front of that mid-chest area. And in this position, we're now going to feel our pubic bone, and the pubic bone is that hard bony nub in front of the pelvis. We're going to use that like a little control mechanism, like a little lever, a little access point. We're going to take that pubic bone and we're going to curl it up and in. Notice how my whole pelvis tilts back. Some people think of this as a tail tuck. I start to get us in this work, in the monkey body, I get us in the mindset of understanding that this is really, if we use the pubic bone as a way to tilt the pelvis and we stop thinking about the tail, we don't get as grippy in the butt, which really causes a lot of problems. It contributes, huge contributor to back pain. You can't, sort of pelvic floor imbalance. You can't really scaffold internally, so we grip with these big outside muscles. So you can use the idea of a tuck in the tail, but you really want to think soft seat, soft butt. So curling that pubic bone up and in, you'll notice in this position when we're upright that it really turns on that stretch, the big stretch in the front of your right hip. So keeping that curl, we're then going to just allow our arms, we lean back, we fall back with the body just a couple inches, breathing into the hip. And exhale as we pull ourselves back home. We inhale as we start to lower back, deep curl of that pubic bone. And exhale as we pull ourselves back home. Maintaining that curl of the pubic bone the whole time. We don't want to come back with the seat because then we lose the curl of that tuck of the pelvis, that curl of the pubic bone. We want to keep that curl of pubic bone up and in, as the whole body leans back just a bit. You'll notice it's a very intense stretch in a very small range. So we just breathe into that like we're warming up taffy. Breathing into that hip, into the front of the thigh, and exhaling. Breathing into this whole front leg. And breathing into it, maintaining that tuck. 2, 3, and exhaling. Carefully, we're going to shift our weight to the front ball of foot, and then we'll pull ourselves up to standing. Making sure in this position that we feel safe, we know where our feet are in the ground, we feel solid in our stance, and then we can let the strap go. And I just want you to give this a little walk around the room. And I want you to notice your relationship with the floor. Notice the contact with that in the hip, the leg that we just stretched. Notice the contact through the floor with that foot. What I often notice, and if we look at myofascial chains in the body, if we think of this as one long chain of tissue in the body, by opening up this junction, this major junction of the front of the hip, it allows this whole entire thing to get longer, and in the front of my foot, what we call the ball of the foot, that gas pedal pushing part of the foot, that whole entire ball of the foot feels like it drops better into the floor, and then I have better control, I have better contact with it. So I just want to feel that relationship with the floor, and that I feel a little more assured in my stance in that side. So now we're going to take the other knee on the ground. If you've been mirroring me, it'll be now your left knee comes down into the ground, and we're going to ground that back left ball of foot. We're going to slide, we're going to keep that grounded as we slide the knee back, sliding that heel back. Feel how it really, you get a pretty profound, pretty strong stretch in the toes, the sole of the foot. And again, we don't want to work to any pain ever. We want to keep that about a 7, 8 in terms of intensity. So if it's too much, you can let yourself come out of it a bit. But when we can slide this back and pin that ball of foot, you'll notice you really get a strong stretch in that hip of that knee that's in the floor. So in your left hip, if you're mirroring me. Again, we check in, pubic bone, sternum, nose, straight center facing that anchor point. And we're going to find that curl of pubic bone. As we inhale, lowering ourselves back, we breathe into the stretch in the front of that left hip. This is a very potent stretch. I don't like to waste time. I don't like to do a lot of repetitions of anything in my body. I find that it doesn't really respond well to a lot of work, a lot of intense work, just little spurts. Breathing into it, 2, 3, and exhaling. Maintaining that curl of pubic bone, that long tail, breathing into it. 2, 3, and exhaling. We'll do a couple more, and we inhale into it, breathing into that stretch in the thigh, and exhaling in the front of hip, and keeping that curl of pubic bone as we lean back, and exhaling. Good. Then carefully we're going to shift our weight to the front ball of foot, that right ball of foot, as we come up to pulling ourselves to standing. When we feel safe in our stance, we can then drop that strap and we give it a little walk around. And now you might notice that the fronts of both hips feel a little more open, and the feet just feel, the fronts of the feet feel dropped into the floor. When we go deeper down this rabbit hole together and you enroll in this program, in this work, you'll start to understand in the third arm of this work, which we won't get to today because it's its own involved experience, but we're going to start to, once we open up these junctions, we then have to organize the bones in our feet. We have 27 bones in each foot, 36 joints in each foot, and they should be able to undulate just like our hands can. But we've often really just lived in shoes so much that we have no understanding of what it is to articulate every little joint, to let it move and kind of flow. and to regain that feeling, that primal stance, right? So this is the beginning, these spiral stretches with strap, this is the beginning of how we unwind from our core, our center, our sacrum, what I call our primary keystone when we get deeper into the work. We unwind this girdle to be able to release, to then mash open the feet, to then really find a powerful stance that supports our knees, our hips, ultimately, our low back, our whole spine, so that we don't feel like we're ever pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps and everything's super tight, but we can really yield to the ground and feel powerful and rooted in our body. So that is our front body sacrum line, our hip flexor line. We're then going to take this to, our back body sacrum line. So this is a stretch called the standing pancake stretch. Standing because the pancake stretch that's very popular, you'll notice today, is the one where legs come wide and people will take this deep forward bend all the way to the floor. I don't like that in my body. I happen to have, I've had decades of joint issues that I was born with. I'm hypermobile. I can dislocate everything in my body. It's why I created this work to live now pain-free at almost 40 years old, where, when I was in my teens, I couldn't figure out how to make any of this work. For me, being in this pancake stretch, I don't have any connection through the ball of my foot. I don't know where my root is of my stance, so I can just it yanks on my hips. So what I did was the exact same posture, but you really just tilt it 90 degrees and you get the same thing upright, okay? So we're gonna let's take the strap again. This time I'd say it's probably around solar plexus, belly button level, both hands. And then you're going to take your feet about shoulder width apart for this first one. And we're going to swing the butt back, just like a deadlift or kind of like a tabletop. Just swinging the butt back until you feel a hamstring stretch, the stretch in the back of the legs here. It'll be pretty strong. And hanging back into that stretch, you'll notice your weight is now in your heels. So what I want you to do is push through that ball of the foot, that gas pedal of the foot. I want you to push through that, and I want you to unweight those heels so they're feather-light touch both. Okay? And then in this position, we're going to first swing the butt towards one another. You're going to swing your butt over to the right, feather light in both of those heels. You're not going to drop into your right heel. You're not going to lift your left heel. They just feel feather light on the floor both. You'll feel a stronger stretch in the back of that right leg. Breathing into it. Exhale as we swing through center. And then inhaling as we swing the butt to the left. Not dropping into the left heel. It stays light. And the right heel stays on the ground very lightly. And then we come back to center. Swinging towards one another again. I'm just going to show you this in my body as if I'm holding a strap, so you can see it with a little depth on a diagonal. And we come back to center, exhaling and inhaling. Breathing into the stretch, 2, 3, and exhaling back to center. Light heels both as we hang into that strap. This strap is here to support our lower back, so we don't need to feel like we have to do any work. That strap is there to support us. We're going to inhale as we swing one more set into it, and exhale center, and inhaling 2, 3, and exhaling back to center. At this shoulder width, we'll heel toe into hip width apart, so a little narrower, with the feet. We bend the knees and we stand up, letting our blood pressure sort of re-regulate, just giving that a chance to make sure we feel safe, no stars, no spinning. And then we'll drop the strap, and we're going to give that a little walk around. Just kind of noticing, again, your relationship with the floor. What I feel in my own body when I do this sequence is that my back line has become longer, my heels
drop to the ground. So where the front line really helps the ball of the foot to drop to the ground, this tablecloth, getting the kinks taken out of it, really helps my back line. And I feel just sort of softly upright. Okay? We're going to do one more round of that, just a little, with a little wider stance. So this time, instead of shoulder width apart, I want us to be a little wider than shoulder width apart, whatever that means to you. When we go through the full work, we're going to go into a wide stance, and it's going to turn into, instead of just sort of IT band hamstrings, it's going to start to take us into that domain of adductor groin line, so the inner thigh. Right now, we're going to do that middle stance of shoulder width, then a little wider than shoulder width right now. So I think of it as kind of my A-frame stance. So a little wider than the shoulders. I swing the butt back. I feel supported by the strap. I can see my elbows in my peripheral vision as I look down at the floor. I'm hanging back into that hamstring stretch, weights in my heels. Then I push through the ball of the foot, it unweights my heels. So very light heels both. That's our constant for this exercise. We're going to take that through now as we swing towards one another to that right ball of foot. Light heels both, light right heel, left heel remains lightly touching. We come back through center, exhaling and inhaling as we swing away to the left. Light left heel, right heel remains lightly touching, and exhaling as we come back through center. We'll do a couple more sets, breathing into it, towards one another. 2, 3, and exhaling. And I'll show it at the diagonal, inhaling into that left ball of foot. 2, 3, and exhaling, staying light in both heels as we inhale last time to the right. 2, 3, and exhaling, and inhaling softly to the left. 2, 3, and exhaling. We'll heel toe, back together, hip width apart. We bend the knees and we stand up through that ball of foot. And I always get a bit of a kind of flush or a little shiver with these. These are really deep stretches under tension. So the whole muscle body is contracted, is resisting it. It's a resisted stretch, we would call it. This gives you a chance to work really deeply in opening up the tissue, but without just kind of yanking it and pulling it out. Because that's something, as a hypermobile person, that's something I really can't tolerate. I can injure myself very easily with that, which is why I came up with this series of oscillating resisted stretches. So for the nervous system, that's a really intense experience. There's sort of, you sometimes will get a little shiver or a little flush, all to be expected. So I just give this a little walk around. I just feel this, just noticing my relationship with the floor, my contact with the floor. I feel heavier in my heels now. My balls of my feet feel grounded. I feel really rooted in the earth. And it's almost like that shiver, it's like a sense of calm that can come back over me because I know that I'm supported by the floor again. I'm not tightly pulling myself up and out. I can really release, I can yield. So now that we've opened up that front of hip, back of hip area, we'll then take it into, if this sacrum is our primary keystone, we then jump into sternum, our secondary keystone. So this pelvic girdle, we'd now jump into the shoulder girdle. The shoulders, the upper body. So using this strap, we're going to sit on the ground for what I call our seated mermaid spiral stretch. And so this mermaid comes from mermaid in Pilates, where you have this squared off pose, and it's a floor sort of side stretch routine. I took this stance and combined it with the strap to open up the backs of our shoulders, because the backs have to be open in order for the tissue to slide together like pocket doors.
for our chest to then open. So another really important thing to note, and pardon for these asides, but they're really relevant to someone who has had back pain either acutely in this moment for the first time or chronically recurring through your life. It's really important to understand that we live in a time where everyone is so obsessed with this heart opening, this chest opening. That's fine, but whatever you open, something else must contract. And in this time of shoulders back and down and open chest and strong presence, this back body, you can see it on me, it's closed off. And what we need to first open up that hoop of the back body so then it can slide together and it can allow you to find a soft, easy opening of that heart line. And that's really where this work is a pretty distinct departure from everything else I've learned, because we've been taught that this posture, this hoop that we hang in that back hammock to stretch out, we've been taught that this is a wrong posture to make. But if you consider that your collarbones, your shoulders, your arms, they're really only attached skeletally where your sternum meets your collarbone. There's one joint. Your whole shoulder, your whole arm, the shoulder blade, none of it is attached with a joint to the actual rib cage. It all floats with soft tissue. So all that soft tissue, it has to be opened like a hammock. You have to open that back body, stretch it open like a hammock, and then it can come together and allow you to feel a little more grounded, open, free. So we're going to take this strap. We're going to have the feet a little wider than shoulder width. And it's going to be basically the same exact thing that we did on the floor, that first mashing drill where we went side to side. We're going to do the same exact thing, this time just seated with our strap supporting us. As we pull the shoulders back, we're going to inhale, lift the heart, shoulders back, lifting the chest, and then exhale, soften the chest, and I want you to hang into this hammock. And you're going to feel your sacrum, that bony pad in the back of the pelvis, as everything curls and tucks back, you're going to feel like you can really hang into it. And your sacrum in this position is shaped kind of like a little salad bowl. It's like a little soup bowl. So we're just going to find that bowl, and then we're going to take our strap. Any excess strap you can always just throw over the shoulder. We're going to take this strap, and we're going to turn our heart towards one another. So to your right, as your knees fall to the right, and we're just going to come up and over onto this bony nub of the hip. And we're going to soften into that stretch a little bit. Find a little scoop of pelvic floor, that mula bandha from yoga, just to support. Breathing into the stretch, and exhale as we curl back. To the other side, as we turn, mashing through the butt into that right bony nub of the hip, hanging into the strap. We come all the way to that bony nub of the hip into the floor, breathing into the stretch. And exhale as we curl back to center. And we turn that heart. You'll notice the hands slowly start to choke up on the strap. You're actually locomoting. You're moving towards that anchor point of the strap, forward with the body slowly. Breathing into the stretch. And exhale as we come back to center. Light feet on the ground so you can slide. And one more time here. I'm going to inhale into this all the way through that bony nub, and I want you to hang into the strap. There's no need to sit up. You can really let the strap support you, soften the heart. Breathe into that stretch of your whole side body, from the bony nub of the hip all the way to the side, up and over the back of shoulder. And we come back, curling through to center. I'm going to back up just a little bit because I'm losing some space. And now we'll do a one-hand version. You're going to choke up with your right hand. Your left hand is just going to softly rest on your heart, and we're going to turn through to the right, up and over, mashing through to that bony nub of the hip in the ground, and I soften my heart as I hang into this. And it looks kind of like a hammock. It's big, Big, balanced, soft curvature there. Breathing into it. Exhale as I curl my heart back. My left hand, or your left hand, will choke up over as we come through to the other side. Hanging into the strap, we mash through all the way to that left bony nub of the hip. Breathing into the stretch. And exhale as we curl through back to center. Right hand will choke up over as we turn the heart to one another, letting the legs fall to that, up and over to that right bony nub of the hip. We breathe into that stretch. Exhale as we curl back to center. And last time here, left hand chokes up as we turn the heart, legs fall, and we come over to that left bony nub of the hip. Big breath into that stretch, hanging into the strap. And exhale. As we soften, we come back to center. Good. And then carefully here, we'll just come into an easy cross-legged position. If that's not comfortable, we kind of release the legs however we like. And I just want you to notice kind of how your shoulders feel here. If we can come up to standing, we'll then bring this. We just walk this around a little bit, and we'll just notice how that feels. To let the shoulders wiggle out a little bit, shake it out. And I just want you to notice what often people attest to, myself in the beginning of this work and my clients as I introduce people to this series. When we open up, stretch open this back line, you'll notice that it's almost easier now for that tissue to slide together and for your heart to just feel like it softly opens, that your chest just softly opens. And now, when we walk that around, finding the balls of our feet, we sort of feel calmly, softly upright. So that is an introduction to the initial rocking, rolling, and the spiral stretches from the Monkey Body Spinal Mastery Program. And because humans exist in a palindrome, they go back from whence they came. So we come developmentally from that fetal position, curled up in a ball, up through seated to crawling, to standing, kneeling to standing. We go back from whence we came, we come onto the ground, and we always end with that same rocking posture from which we started, just to honor that feeling of safety and support in the spine. So we'll take one knee to chest, other knee to chest, soft, wide elbows. We're going to inhale at center here, and exhaling as that right knee, the right hand will pull that knee in towards the heart. We soften as the chest, as the head rolls a bit to that right side, just shy of where that elbow touches the ground. And inhaling as the knee pushes away. Exhaling as the left hand pulls the knee into the chest. Inhaling as left knee pushes away, and it rights the ship back to center. Exhaling, softening into the floor. Soft chin, soft chest. Inhaling as the knee pushes out. And exhaling as we soften, pulling that left knee in with our left hand, inhaling as that left knee pushes away, and we come to center. One more set. As we exhale, that right hand pulls the knee into chest. We soften as we turn, inhaling as right knee pushes away, and exhaling as left hand pulls in, inhaling as left knee pushes away. And we'll have one foot down, other foot down, one leg long, other leg long, and we're just going to feel our contact with the floor here. And I just want you to notice that you really you'll feel a little more spread in the hips and the pelvis. You feel a little heavier in the ground. Low back will feel a little more open into the floor. Shoulder blades will feel kind of like they spread like butter a little bit east-west, and that there's just more surface area. There's more of you that is yielding and accepting the ground and feeling safe in the support of the ground. So that is a little introduction, a little taste of some of the sequencing, without yet venturing into the third arm of the work, the archetypal postures, what ultimately will become foot mashing sequences to then get us into primal postures like squatting, cowboy stance, transferring from cross-legged, mashing out the ankles, mashing out the feet, dorsiflex, kneeling for that ready stance, and really opening the foot. This is a little taste of how we start from that pelvic safety, really what is our keystone of our body, our sacrum, really where that low back pain occurs and kind of recurs and resides in our body, and allows us to then open through the whole system. The hips, both sides, those hip flexors, those hamstring lines, eventually through to that inner thigh, groin, taking that through our lats serratus rhomboids, our shoulder girdle, opening up through the pec line, the chest lines, flossing through that sort of the brachial plexus, that shallow nerve innervation through the arm. That's what allows me to feel safe and fluid in my spine, because I'm not of the belief that we just should be strengthening in very fixed ranges of motion like was often dictated to me through the multiple times in my life when I was told that I should have physical therapy or any sort of strengthening exercises. So it's a funny experience that, especially for hypermobile people, that people say, oh, you're loose, you need to stabilize, you need to strengthen, but we tend to be tight in all the wrong places. And what I see myself as someone who has struggled with that my whole life until I developed this work, is that I'm in a unique position to be a canary in the coal mine, someone who can say that really I don't think some of these practices are serving anyone as highly as they could be, and this is an alternative that has allowed me to see my body as this primal, torsional, helical, kind of mobile but strong creature. And that's really where I see this work as a celebration of our primal birthright in embodiment and movement, as opposed to just a strict rehabilitation system where I get stronger so that I can then go do something to not know how I got injured in the first place, and then to unfortunately go through that injury pattern repeatedly. This is something that allows me to be free long term in my body, and my hope is that you find the same comfort, safety, and ultimately joyful embodiment in this work. So I thank you for taking this time with me to explore a bit in a new way of being in the body. That can be a lot to ask, to trust your body to someone else, and I'm very thankful that you were willing to take this time with me, and I very much look forward to our call together. Thank you.